How's it going? Welcome back to another great video with the majestic host, the Savior. And I do hope that you had a nice Christmas, that you had a nice New Year. So enough with the BS intro, okay? I know why you're here, why you clicked on this video. Well, hopefully if the YouTube algorithm gods have blessed me, which they most likely haven't. But let's look at Dragon's Dogma. We all know that 2023 was a good year for gaming, which was surprising because for years leading up to 2023, they weren't exactly promising. So many big AAA games were just released in shit-ass states. It was a complete disgrace. I thought gaming was going downhill, but 2023 really stepped it up, and finally it seems like the AAA gaming industry has got their shit together. I would still say that modern day AAA games still lack creativity and innovative ideas, but we're getting there slowly. And this year, in comparison, might not be as good, but still we're getting some pretty high quality games, and one that I'm most looking forward to, and I think many people are as well, is Dragon's Dogma 2. So before Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out, I think it would be worth taking a retrospective look at Dragon's Dogma, giving you an up-to-date Dragon's Dogma 2024 review. Should you buy Dragon's Dogma in 2024? That is what I hope to answer in this video. If you've never played Dragon's Dogma before and you're kind of curious about the second one but you're not quite sure, well, you can pick this game up for dirt cheap. It's always been dirt cheap for some reason for a long time, and yeah, you can pick it up on sale. So if you do want to play Dragon's Dogma in 2024, then I would recommend it. So I'm just gonna have a look at this game, give you my retrospective of Dragon's Dogma, and basically give you a brief analysis of Dragon's Dogma and why it's so beloved by many people, why this has become a cult classic, like some of my favorite movies such as Donnie Darko or A Clockwork Orange. The mainstream don't really care about these movies, or they weren't that hyped on release, and it's the same thing with Dragon's Dogma, or you can compare it to the original Demon's Souls, okay? This pretty much got shat on release, people like IGN giving it mediocre reviews, basically the same score as Starfield, which I think is a little bit insulting to Dragon's Dogma. But as the years went by, more and more people found out about this gem of a game, so let's find out why people love it so much. So I do hope you enjoy this Dragon's Dogma 2024 review, and I really do hope this helps you decide if you are going to play the new game, because it does look very similar, it does look updated, it does look slightly next gen, I would say, with actually the gameplay mechanics, and that's what I'm more interested in when it comes to gaming. That's why I'm excited for Dragon's Dogma 2 the most. Graphically, it doesn't look that much of an upgrade. Obviously, it does look nicer. Sorry, I just hit you. Don't call the goddamn wife support hotline, okay? I'm sorry. But it doesn't look super next gen like Elden Ring on steroids. But what Dragon's Dogma 2 does offer is innovative gameplay, and that's because the first game was so packed full of innovative gameplay. And like I said, on release, no one really liked it. It was just kind of mediocre, and I didn't really like it to begin with. It took me quite a few attempts to get into it, but finally it clicked. And I think that type of game, puts a lot of people off, because usually if it's not an instant click, people just don't, want to deal with it. They don't want to learn the systems. They don't want to put in all that time and effort and not get like a return of investment out of it. So I think that's why, games like Demon's Souls, when it first released, people just didn't get it. But after Dark Souls, once they narrowed down their focus and people could see the genius behind the gameplay and the world, then, of course, finally it started to pick up traction. And the same thing happened pretty much with Dragon's Dogma. The only criticism I would really give Dragon's Dogma is it doesn't make you feel invested in the world, per se, in the kind of lore, in the characters, in the story. But now we get so much cinematic bullshit, story video games. Actually, this type of game where it's only focused on the gameplay appeals more to me now, because we get so much of that kind of cinematic movie game, which basically isn't gaming, but that's what the AAA gaming space loves to do now. So it's actually quite refreshing just playing a game which is fun and, it just focuses on gameplay, but it does pull you out of that immersion. The best way to sum it up is Dragon's Dogma is the polar opposite of something like The Witcher 3. It's a deep RPG in the same sense that The Witcher 3 is a deep RPG, but it doesn't have much consequences and choice, and it doesn't focus so much on the characters and the writing and the kind of storytelling. So that's why a lot of people felt it was a little bit bland. But what made Dragon's Dogma amazing? Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. And by the way, if you are enjoying this video, please do consider subscribing. It only takes 2 seconds of your time, literally 2 seconds of your time, to go down and hit subscribe. I hoped that we might reach 10,000 before the end of the year, but I'm just hoping we reach it before summertime. I'm sure that is a reasonable goal. Just join the community. I'm so passionate about the channel and the people who are invested in this channel. You mean so much to me, and I just want to say thank you so much. Just become a wise one today. If you like gaming content, video essays, philosophical content, all that kind of stuff, you're in the right place. Give it a chance and show some love. Maybe drop a super thanks or join as a member, and check out the music that I make on Spotify. That just means so much to me. If you listen to my music and you watch my videos, then you are like Jesus, baby Jesus, okay? So let's quickly dive into Dragon's Dogma in 2024, and I really do hope that people go back and play this before Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out. I think a lot of people are excited for the next game because, we want an immersive fantasy world, because we're not going to get many games like that, because The Elder Scrolls 6 is a long way away, and it might be complete crap, because Bethesda has kind of gone downhill, and we're not going to get The Witcher for a while. So this is really the best single player kind of fantasy game that we're going to get for a long time, and it really does look like they doubled down. And if you listen to the director and the creator behind this game, you can tell he really has respect for this genre, and he's trying to make it as immersive but kind of whimsical at the same time. I would say it's kind of a dark fantasy game. It's not something like Fable, but it does have its own unique vibe to it, which keeps it interesting. So the world is interesting to explore, but just don't expect good quality characters. And I hope that's something they improve upon a little bit in the second one, but the first one isn't that, okay? What this game is, it's basically a hack and slash, almost Souls-like combat system. The combat system in Dragon's Dogma is what makes this game so good, okay? And that's because you have these different classes, okay, and they all actually matter and play very differently. But then also you can combine these classes to make hybrid classes, and it just feels so good. You can be a quick, fast-paced character with double daggers and do these awesome combos in midair and stuff like that, or you can be a massive, great brute, wielding a goddamn great sword or a giant hammer. Then you can also combine this class with, some light magic elements to, kind of set your sword on fire and your shield ablaze. And that stuff is just so cool. It's really high fantasy type. And the creature designs in this are very well done. They pull a lot of, Western mythology, but give it an Eastern flair, a kind of Japanese game feel flair to it. And that's what makes it feel so good. That's what made Dark Souls so interesting as well. And I feel like they nailed the aesthetic in Dragon's Dogma, the original Dragon's Dogma, because that's what we're talking about here. But I think what made this game so cool was kind of the ambience and the slow nature of this game. Trekking from one massive hub area, giant city to the next feels like an adventure. You create your own stories and adventures in this game. It doesn't really happen so much on quests because they're kind of a little bit boring, the quests. That's kind of a slight negative, but it's the adventure along the way that makes it super cool. And the way this game actually treats the player with respect. It doesn't insult your intelligence. It doesn't handhold you. Nighttime is actually dark, and you actually have to have lanterns or light up your weapons with some kind of magical fire source, or using some type of magic to illuminate your surroundings. Stuff like that really makes this game feel immersive, and that's what I really love about it. And I think that's why people really slowly fell in love with this game. It's a very slow burn, and at times it does feel a little bit grindy, but as you're building up your character, as you're getting stronger, as you're unlocking all of these different movesets and combining these different class elements, and they are so deep, you know, the different movesets that you can do, and, you know, with the classes that you have access to, they are just so well thought out. You know, being a mage is actually fun. Now, you might have heard of the comparison of this game being very similar to Monster Hunter, or games like Shadow of the Colossus, and that's because Dragon's Dogma makes you feel the scale of things, and I think that's what adds to the realism of the combat. I think it does it much better than Monster Hunter, and I do see why people compare it to, you know, something like Shadow of the Colossus, because you will be climbing up these massive enemies, you will be scaling them, you will have to manage your stamina, and it's so cool when you can, you know, jump on a dragon, and then it's going to take you off into the sky, and all of these different bosses have their own like weak points, what they're resistance to, you know, different types of magic, or, you know, like a weapon or even a class. So all of this adds so much depth to the content and the combat, and then on top of that you have the pawn system, which is pretty funny. The only complaint I really have with the pawn system is I do truly feel like soulless NPCs, but it kind of makes sense within the context of the world, which is pretty cool, and I love how they actually learn from their experiences, and I think with the improvement of AI, this is going to make Dragon's Dogma 2 even better than the first game. But since we're talking about the first game here, it is still pretty well done, and we don't get that type of companion system in any other game. But I think what really ties this all in together, it's not so much the world and, you know, like the open areas and the quests and stuff like that, it's when you're fighting unique giant bosses and, you know, using the environment, you know, to your advantage, using the class system to your advantage, you know, learning all of these different combat styles, all of these different subclasses that you can manage, having your pawns, you know, like learn from their experience, and going into these deep dungeons, which feel so like realistic and realized. That's when Dragon's Dogma really clicks as just a fun, like, you know, hack and slash, high quality RPG, where it is difficult. It doesn't feel, you know, like a modern day action game. It does feel like a proper, almost Souls-like, you know, fantasy-rich RPG, and that is just something that we just don't get anymore, and that's why so many people loved it, I believe, and that's why I personally enjoyed it and clicked with it. It takes a while to get into, but I really do think you should give it a try if you are willing to play the second game. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and that is why I believe Dragon's Dogma is worth playing in 2024. The enemy variation and the weapon design and all that kind of stuff just makes this such a cool game, and it does take a while, it does require investing your time in it, and if you're thinking of playing Dragon's Dogma 2, then yes, Dragon's Dogma 1 is worth it in 2024. And I do hope you enjoyed this Dragon's Dogma 1 2024 review and kind of retrospective. Let me know what you think about this game. You know, I'm glad that these games are still being made, and I think we need more of these types of games where they're focusing on innovative gameplay systems, and that's what this game is all about. So I do think it's worth your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.